Hello Booktube, welcome to LizziefayeLovesBooks. I'm Elizabeth, and I know I'm a little late, but I want to tell you about what I read in the very last few days of the Middle Grade May Reads Readathon that was hosted by Akoss. I did a weekly update at the end of each week, so this is basically week 5 of the Middle Grade May Reads Readathon. I read a total of 32 books for May. 31 of them were middle grade books. So if you haven't seen any of my earlier videos from May, then please check those out. They are all on my channel. But I will probably also, right after this, I will do a quick summary video and just show you everything I read during the month of May. But in this video, I want to tell you about the last 6 books that I read for middle grade May. Now 3 of them I read in print and 3 of them I listened to on audio. So I'll start with the print books. I read book 4 in the Shadow Children series by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is Among the Barrens. I really thought this was good. This had a very interesting dynamic. This series is about a future world where families are only allowed to have 2 children. If they have a 3rd child, then the family risks imprisonment, and the child will more than likely be put to death. So if a family chooses to have a 3rd child, that child has to live in hiding. So our main character, Luke, is a 3rd child, and through the course of the story so far, he has been able to take on an identity of a young boy who died, and so now he's pretending to be a part of this other family that he's never met. Well, at the beginning of this book, he learns that the little brother of this family that he's never met is coming to the boarding school where he attends. You know, he doesn't know what's going to happen. Is this little brother going to rat him out? Is he going to play along? Is he going to keep his secret? He doesn't know what's going to happen. And so it's a very interesting thing to think about, and I've really been enjoying this series. This book I think was even a little shorter than the first 3, so I probably won't read any more of them this year, but maybe next year I will go ahead and read the rest of these. I think there's a total of 7 in the series, maybe 8. Maybe I can go ahead and finish this series in 2018. This is book 2 in a series that I said I was going to read this year, but I tell you, I had such a hard time getting through the first 2. I don't know if I will finish it or not. And they weren't bad books. They were just very slow and tedious. This is The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. It's book 2 in the Dark is Rising sequence. I really want to go ahead and read the next book, which is Green Witch, so that I can at least read the 4th book, which is The Grey King, because it's a Newbery winner, and it's my goal in life to read all Newbery winners, so I really want to at least get that far. I did enter the challenge on the Newbery Goodreads group to read all the Susan Cooper books this year. They're doing some author challenges this year in that group to read different series by authors that have Newbery winners included as part of a series. I've already read the Giver Quartet, and I think another one is the Wrinkle in Time series. I haven't read all of those, but of all the series that have a Newbery winner, this is the one that I have most been wanting to read next, and I enjoyed this book, but it's just tedious. I don't know, the style it's written in is just wordy, I guess, and I found the story really compelling and intriguing, but it's just a slow read. The 3rd book looks pretty short, so maybe I'll be able to get through it a little bit quicker. But I'm glad that I got these 2 read this month. The first one, Oversea Under Stone, I read in a previous week, so I did finally get this one read within the last few days of the month. Now, part of the reason I may have had trouble getting through The Dark is Rising very quickly is because I read the majority of the first 2 books out of this bind-up. This is the 5-book bind-up of the whole series, and it is very dense. The pages are large and small font, and it just seemed to take forever to read a page. So that could be why psychologically it seemed to take me a long time to get through the books. Before I started reading The Dark is Rising, I ordered this copy from the library, but it didn't come until the last couple of days of the month. So I think I did finish the book in this edition, but I knew if I waited till this came in, which, you know, was like May 30th, I wouldn't have time to read the whole book, because I had to just make myself read several pages a day each day to get it read. So I ended up still reading the majority of it in this edition. But, you know, when it's all said and done, I got it read. So I definitely plan to read the rest of the series in these individual editions because psychologically it just goes a lot faster for me. This series was written in the 70s, and so it's modern day for the time it was written in, but it ties into the Arthurian legends. Some of the characters have tie-ins with Merlin and King Arthur, but it's about kids in modern day time. This book was about a different boy who was not in the first book, so I'm not really sure how all of it's going to tie in together. There's a character, Merriman Lyons, who has some ties back to Merlin, and he's in the first book, and then he's in this book. So far, that's the only ties between the first and second books. So I don't know what's going to happen in the third book, but we shall see. I did reread a couple of Newbery winners this month. I read The Midwifes Apprentice by Karen Cushman. I didn't remember a whole lot about this, but I did remember that when I read this the first time, I thought it was pretty harsh, and I still kind of question whether it's completely appropriate for a middle grade audience. It is about a young girl who lives in medieval England. When the book opens, she's homeless, she has nothing, and this midwife finds her on the dung heap and brings her in and decides to make her her apprentice. Well, this midwife is really not a good person, but despite all of that, the main character, Alice, she does seem to come through it all somehow, and it's really not a bad story, but again, I don't know if I'd recommend it for a very young middle grade audience. And then 3 of the books I listened to on audio. The very last one is also a Newbery winner, and this is one that I had listened to before. This is The View from Saturday by E.L. Konigsberg. E.L. Konigsberg has 2 Newbery winners. The other one is From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, and I remember really enjoying that one, but I'm going to have to reread it too because I don't remember really anything about it. This one is about a academic team, and each section kind of goes through each of their stories, and then there's also some bits from the teacher's perspective and kind of how the team does in their competition. And I thought it was a really good story. It's not my favorite middle grade book that I've ever read, but it is an enjoyable story. It does have a good deal of diversity in the characters as far as their races and heritage groups. So if you are looking for a diverse middle grade book to recommend to someone, then this might be a good choice. And I thought it was a lot of fun to listen to again. Now, there are a couple of different audio versions of this, and the version that I listened to was on Overdrive, and it was narrated by Jenna Lamia and Jim Maxwell. There is a version that has a whole cast of narrators, but the version I listened to just had 2. In fact, on Goodreads, it only lists the one narrator, but in the intro to the audiobook, it names both her and Jim Maxwell. So I promised Jen from Today in Jen's Library that I would start naming the narrators, so there you go. And then I started the Cahill's vs. Vesper series. This is the first spin-off series of the 39 Clues, and these are narrated by David Pittu. So far, all of the 39 Clues books that I have listened to, and I've listened to most of them on audio rather than reading them in print, they've all been narrated by David Pittu, and he does a fabulous job. He really does a good job doing females and males and doing old versus young. He's just really good. The first book is by Gordon Corman, The Medusa Plot. I had listened to this before, and as I went through it, it started all coming back to me, and it was really good. It was good to go ahead and reread it, though, because now that I've read book 11 in the original series, which was kind of a transition book, it was good to go ahead and read this again because it kind of put things in the right order. So then the second book, A King's Ransom, is written by Jude Watson, and I didn't remember a whole lot about this because when I listened to this the first time, I had a CD from the library and it had a lot of skips in it. So I finally just kind of gave up on it and I don't even think I got through it all. And I knew that I was going to have to read it in print or find another audio. So I was really excited to find that Hoopla has all 6 of this series on audio, and so I will probably be listening to the rest of them through Hoopla as well. So these are the last 6 books that I read or listened to in May for Middle Grade May Reads Readathon and for my book a day in May. I did accomplish reading a book a day in May. Now, I didn't read one book each day. I always had several going at one time, but I did finish out the month with 31 middle grade books finished and one adult book that I had started previously finished. So I will do another quick video that I will upload after this one, and I will give you a quick summary of everything I read during the month of May for my book a day in May. So that's all for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.